The morning sun streamed through the airport's glass walls as Dr. Maya Wilson checked her watch. 2 hours before her flight to Chicago, where she would be speaking at a major medical conference about her breakthrough research in pediatric neurosurgery. Perfect timing. Maya adjusted her cream blazer and pulled her carry-on behind her, the wheels clicking rhythmically against the polished floor. At 53, Maya carried herself with the quiet confidence that came from decades of commanding operating rooms and saving lives. Her natural hair was styled in a neat salt and pepper crown, and simple pearl earrings complemented her professional attire. She'd learned long ago that in her profession, and especially during travel, presentation mattered, though she hated that it had to. The check-in process went smoothly. The young man at the counter smiled genuinely when he saw her platinum member card. "Good morning, Dr. Wilson. I see you're flying first class to Chicago today. Your seat is confirmed, 2A by the window. Would you like to check any bags?" "Just this small suitcase, thank you," Maya replied, lifting her luggage onto the scale. "I'm only staying for 3 days." "Perfect. Your gate is B17. Boarding begins in 1 hour." He tagged her bag and handed her the boarding pass. "Have a wonderful flight, Dr. Wilson." Maya made her way through security with practiced efficiency. She'd flown enough to have the routine down to a science. Laptop out, shoes off, jacket in, a separate bin. 20 minutes later, she was browsing through a bookstore near her gate, picking up the latest bestseller for the flight. Her phone buzzed with a text. It was from her son, Elijah. "Mom, have a safe flight. Dad and I are proud of you. Call when you land. Love you." Maya smiled. Elijah had always been her biggest cheerleader, even before he had surprised everyone, including her, by purchasing the struggling airline she was flying today, Golden Sky Airways. At just 34, he had already made a name for himself in the business world, turning around failing companies with remarkable success. Golden Sky had been his biggest acquisition yet, and in the 2 years since, he had transformed it into one of the most respected airlines in the country. She texted back, "Thanks, honey. Love you too. We'll call once I'm at the hotel." The boarding announcement came over the PA system. "Golden Sky Airways Flight 372 to Chicago is now boarding. We'd like to welcome our first-class passengers and any passengers needing special assistance to board at this time." Maya gathered her things and made her way to the gate. She handed her boarding pass to the gate agent, who scanned it with a smile. "Enjoy your flight, Dr. Wilson." The jetway was cool and dimly lit. Maya could see flight attendants greeting passengers at the aircraft door as she approached. A tall woman with blonde hair pulled back in a tight bun stood at the entrance, her smile not quite reaching her eyes. "Good morning," Maya said pleasantly, handing over her boarding pass. The flight attendant, whose name tag read Diane, glanced at the ticket, then at Maya, then back at the ticket. Her smile faded entirely. "I think there must be some mistake. This is the first-class section." Maya blinked, momentarily confused. "Yes, I'm aware. I'm in seat 2A. Diane's lips thinned. "Ma'am, this is a first-class ticket." Her tone suggested Maya had somehow missed an obvious point. "I know," Maya replied calmly, though she could feel a familiar tension building in her shoulders. "I purchased a first-class ticket." Passengers were beginning to queue behind her in the narrow jetway. Maya could feel their impatience, the weight of their stares. "Perhaps you were upgraded?" Diane suggested, her voice carrying just enough volume for others to hear. "Or maybe there's been a mistake in the system. These things happen." "There's no mistake," Maya said, keeping her voice even. "I purchased this ticket myself. I fly first class regularly." Diane's eyes narrowed slightly. "Let me just double-check this." She took the boarding pass and examined it with exaggerated care, holding it up to the light as if checking for a watermark. "It does appear to be a first-class ticket, but I'm showing seat 22A in our system, not 2A. This was a lie, and Maya knew it. She'd checked in without issue. The gate agent had scanned her pass without issue, and the seat assignment was clearly printed on her boarding pass. "May I see your identification, ma'am?" Diane asked, her tone now carrying an edge. Maya took a deep breath and reached for her wallet. She'd been through variations of this scenario more times than she cared to count over her 30-year career. She handed over her driver's license and medical ID. Diane examined them with the same excessive scrutiny. By now, the line behind Maya had grown, and people were beginning to whisper. A middle-aged white man in a business suit cleared his throat loudly. "Is there a problem?" he asked, directing his question to Diane rather than Maya. "Just a small confusion with seating," Diane replied with a suddenly warm smile. "I'll sort it out quickly, sir. Sorry for the delay." She turned back to Maya, the warmth evaporating. "These credentials don't match your ticket information." Maya felt her patience thinning. "My name is clearly printed on both my ID and my ticket. Dr. Maya Wilson, seat 2A. "The system is showing something different," Diane insisted, though she hadn't checked any system. "I'll need to verify this with my supervisor." "Please do," Maya replied, her voice firm but measured. Years of dealing with hospital bureaucracy had taught her how to stand her ground without raising her voice. Instead of calling for a supervisor, Diane attempted to take the boarding pass back, but in her haste, she gripped it awkwardly, tearing it almost in half. "Oh!" Diane exclaimed with exaggerated surprise. "I'm so sorry. It seems your boarding pass is damaged now. You'll need to go back to the gate for a new one." The man behind Maya sighed loudly. "Can the rest of us board while she sorts this out?" Maya felt a flash of heat rise in her chest. She'd experienced this tactic before. Create a problem, then make it her fault, all while turning other passengers against her. "No," she said clearly. "I will not be leaving this jetway to get a new boarding pass for a ticket you deliberately damaged. Please call your supervisor now." Diane's face flushed. "Ma'am, I'm going to have to ask you to lower your voice." "I'm speaking at a perfectly normal volume," Maya replied, "and I'm requesting a supervisor." Another flight attendant, a younger woman with dark hair, appeared in the doorway. "What's happening, Diane?" She glanced at the torn boarding pass in Diane's hand, then at Maya. "This passenger insists she has a first-class ticket, but there seems to be a discrepancy," Diane said. The younger attendant, whose name tag read Priya, looked confused. "Did you check the manifest?" "I was about to," Diane said stiffly. "I'll do it," Priya offered, stepping back into the plane. She returned moments later with a tablet. "Name, please?" "Dr. Maya Wilson," Maya said, appreciating the professional tone. Priya tapped the screen a few times, then looked up. "Yes, Dr. Wilson is confirmed in seat 2A, first class." She gave a puzzled look to Diane. "It's right here in the system." Diane's face reddened further. "The boarding pass was damaged, so we still need—" "You damaged it," Maya interrupted, her voice still calm but firm. "Deliberately, after questioning my right to be in first class despite clear evidence. I would like to speak with the flight manager now, please." A few passengers behind her murmured in agreement. An older woman spoke up. "I saw what happened. The attendant definitely tore that ticket on purpose." Priya looked uncomfortable. "I'll get the flight manager right away. Dr. Wilson, would you like to step aboard and take your seat while we sort this out?" "Thank you. But I'll wait here until the manager arrives," Maya replied. She'd learned from experience not to give ground in these situations. Once she moved from the spot, the narrative could be rewritten. Diane crossed her arms, her expression hardening into a mask of professional indignation. "This is causing a delay for other passengers." "A delay you created," Maya pointed out. She turned to the line behind her. "I apologize for the inconvenience, everyone. I'm simply trying to board with the first-class ticket I purchased." Several passengers nodded in understanding. The businessman who had been impatient earlier now looked uncomfortable, perhaps recognizing what was really happening. The flight manager appeared, a tall man with kind eyes and graying temples. "I'm Kevin, the flight manager. What seems to be the problem here?" Before Diane could speak, Maya explained the situation succinctly. Kevin listened, then checked the tablet Priya held. "Dr. Wilson is indeed confirmed in seat 2A, he confirmed." He turned to Diane with a stern expression. We'll discuss this later. To Maya, he said, I sincerely apologize for this inconvenience, Dr. Wilson. Please, allow me to escort you to your seat. As Maya finally boarded the plane, she discreetly took out her phone and sent a quick text to her son. This wasn't just about her anymore, it was about making sure no one else had to go through what she just did on an airline that, ironically, her own son owned. Elijah, we need to talk when I land. Had an incident boarding your airline. I'm fine, but this needs addressing. Love you. She put her phone in airplane mode, settled into her plush first-class seat and took a deep breath. The confrontation had left her drained, as these incidents always did. But unlike most passengers who faced such treatment, Maya had a direct line to someone who could actually make changes, and she intended to use it. The revelation came like a thunderclap on an otherwise ordinary Tuesday morning. Elijah Wilson sat in his corner office on the 42nd floor of the Golden Sky Airways headquarters in Atlanta. The wall of windows behind his desk offered a panoramic view of the city skyline, but his attention was fixed on his phone screen, reading his mother's text for the third time. Elijah, we need to talk when I land. Had an incident boarding your airline. I'm fine, but this needs addressing. Love you. A familiar knot formed in his stomach. At 34, Elijah had spent his life watching his mother navigate spaces that weren't always welcoming to her. Dr. Maya Wilson, brilliant neurosurgeon, loving mother, and perpetual target of small indignities that weren't small at all. He pressed the intercom button on his desk phone. Angela, can you pull the passenger manifest for Flight 372 to Chicago? And I need to speak with the ground operations manager at Terminal B immediately. Right away, Mr. Wilson, his assistant responded. Elijah loosened his tie and leaned back, in his chair. 2 years ago, he'd made the bold move to acquire Golden Sky Airways when it was on the brink of bankruptcy. The aviation industry veterans had scoffed at the young entrepreneur with big plans but no airline experience. What they didn't understand was that Elijah saw opportunity where others saw only risk. More importantly, he saw a chance to build something different, an airline that truly put people first, from passengers to employees. His phone rang. Mr. Wilson, I have Thomas Barrett, the Terminal B operations manager, on line 1. Put him through, Elijah said, straightening in his chair. Mr. Wilson, this is Thomas Barrett. What can I do for you, sir? Thomas, I need information about an incident that just occurred during boarding for Flight 372 to Chicago. A first-class passenger encountered an issue with a flight attendant at the gate. What do you know about this? There was a pause on the item, sir. I'm not aware of any specific incidents during boarding. Let me check with the gate staff and flight crew. Do that immediately. The passenger in question is Dr. Maya Wilson, seat 2A. I want a full report within the next 15 minutes, and Thomas, this is extremely important to me personally. Of course, Mr. Wilson. I'll call you right back. Elijah ended the call and swiveled his chair to face the window. The city sprawled before him, bustling with midday activity. When he'd taken over Golden Sky, one of his first initiatives had been a complete overhaul of the company's customer service training, with a special emphasis on addressing unconscious bias. He'd seen the research showing how women, especially women of color, often received inferior service across industries. He'd vowed his airline would be different. His desk phone rang again. Mr. Wilson, I have the flight manifest you requested, Angela said. And Mr. Barrett is calling back. Should I put him through? Yes, and bring me the manifest right away. Thomas Barrett's voice came through the speaker, noticeably more tense than before. Mr. Wilson, I've spoken with the gate staff and the flight manager. There was indeed an incident during boarding involving Dr. Wilson and one of our flight attendants, Diane Mercer. Tell me exactly what happened, Elijah said, his voice calm but firm. Barrett cleared his throat. According to multiple witnesses, including other crew members and passengers, Ms. Mercer questioned Dr. Wilson's first-class ticket. Repeatedly, despite clear documentation, she suggested there was a system error, asked for additional identification, and then damaged Dr. Wilson's boarding pass, claiming it was an accident. Elijah's jaw tightened. And what was the resolution? The flight manager, Kevin Okafor, intervened and personally escorted Dr. Wilson to her seat. Ms. Mercer has been removed from the flight and replaced with another attendant. The flight departed 10 minutes behind schedule. Is there camera footage of the jetway? Yes, sir, I've already requested it from security. Elijah nodded, though Barrett couldn't see him. Good, I want that footage sent to my office immediately, and I want Ms. Mercer in my office tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. sharp. Sir, she's scheduled for a return flight this evening. Then find someone to cover her shift. This takes priority. And Thomas, I want to speak with every passenger who witnessed this incident. Have your team collect contact information discreetly. Yes, Mr. Wilson. Right away. Elijah ended the call just as Angela entered with the flight manifest. He thanked her and scanned the document, finding his mother's name listed in first class, exactly as she'd said. His phone buzzed with another text, this time from his father. Your mother just texted me about some trouble on her flight. Everything okay? Elijah replied. Handling it, Dad. We'll fill you both in later. He set his phone down and pulled up the company directory on his computer, searching for Diane Mercer's personnel file. Her employee photo showed a white woman in her mid-40s with blonde hair pulled back severely from her face. Her employment record showed she'd been with Golden Sky for 15 years, predating his ownership. Her performance reviews were consistently above average, with occasional notes about her direct communication style and high standards. Elijah frowned. How many other passengers had encountered that direct communication style over the years? How many had simply accepted the treatment, assuming they had no recourse? His intercom buzzed again. Mr. Wilson, the security footage from Terminal B has arrived, and your 2 p.m. meeting with the marketing team is in 5 minutes. Cancel the marketing meeting. Reschedule for tomorrow. This takes precedence. Elijah opened the video file that had been sent to his secure email. The footage showed exactly what Barrett had described. His mother, standing calmly at the aircraft door while the flight attendant examined her ticket with obvious skepticism. He watched as the boarding pass was torn, saw his mother's composed but firm response, noted how other passengers began to take notice of the situation. The entire incident lasted less than 10 minutes, but it felt much longer as he watched. He closed the video and sat in silence for a moment, processing what he'd seen. Then he picked up his phone and dialed a number. Lisa Chen's office, answered a crisp voice. This is Elijah Wilson. I need to speak with Lisa immediately. One moment. Mr. Wilson. Lisa Chen, Golden Sky's chief people officer, came on the line seconds later. Elijah, what's going on? I just got an urgent message from Thomas Barrett about an incident at Terminal B. I need you in my office now. We have a situation that requires immediate attention. I'll be right there. While waiting for Lisa, Elijah called the pilot of Flight 372. Captain Reynolds answered on the second ring. Mr. Wilson, this is unexpected. We're at cruising altitude, all systems normal. Captain, I'm calling about an incident that occurred during boarding. Is everything stable in the cabin now? Yes, sir. There was some commotion during boarding, but it's been smooth sailing since takeoff. Your mother is being well taken care of in first class. Elijah paused. You know Dr. Wilson is my mother. Yes, sir, she's flown with me several times, outstanding woman. I always make a point to say hello when she's on my aircraft. This was news to Elijah. I appreciate that, Captain. When you land in Chicago, please ensure she has transportation arranged to her hotel, whatever she needs, and tell her I'll call her this evening. Will do, Mr. Wilson. Anything else? Just take good care of everyone on board, and thank you. Elijah ended the call just as Lisa Chen entered his office, a tablet in hand and concern on her face. I've reviewed the security footage, she said, without preamble. This is serious, Elijah. Sit down, Lisa. We need to talk about more than just this incident. This is a symptom of a larger problem. Lisa took a seat across from him. At 52, she had spent decades in corporate leadership roles and had been one of Elijah's first hires when he took over Golden Sky. He valued her straightforward approach and unwavering commitment to creating a healthy workplace culture. What do you want to do about Ms. Mercer? She asked. The easy answer would be to fire her, Elijah said, leaning forward. But I'm not sure that solves the real problem. One employee gone, but the underlying issues remain. So, what are you thinking? I'm thinking we need to look at our entire approach to training and accountability. The diversity and inclusion workshops we implemented last year clearly weren't enough. We need something more substantial, more impactful. Lisa nodded thoughtfully. I've been saying for months that we need a more comprehensive program. But it will require significant investment. Whatever it costs, Elijah said firmly. Draft a proposal. I want to see it by the end of the week. And in the meantime, Ms. Mercer will be here tomorrow morning. Elijah stood and walked to the window looking out at the city below. I want to hear what she has to say for herself. But more importantly, I want to hear what my mother thinks we should do. This happened to her, not to me. Her voice matters most in deciding the response. Lisa smiled slightly. That's why you're different from most CEOs I've worked with. Most would just fire the employee and issue a standard apology. Standard responses get standard results, Elijah replied. And standard hasn't been good enough for a long time. His phone rang again, the special ringtone he'd set for his fiancée, Zoe. He glanced at Lisa. I need to take this. Can you start working on those plans we discussed? Already on it, she said, rising from her chair. And Elijah, your mother's going to be proud of how you're handling this. After Lisa left, Elijah answered the call. Hey, you? Hey, yourself, Zoe replied, her voice warm. I just got a weird call from your dad. Anything about your mom having trouble on one of your flights? Everything okay? Elijah sighed and gave her the abbreviated version of events. Zoe listened without interrupting, one of the many things he loved about her. That's terrible, she said, when he finished. But not surprising, unfortunately. What are you going to do? What would you do? He asked, genuinely curious. As a civil rights attorney, Zoe had valuable perspective on these issues. Well, legally speaking, you have grounds for disciplinary action, but knowing you, you're looking for something more transformative than just punishment. You know me well, Elijah said with a small smile. I'm waiting to talk to Mom. She should have landed by now. Good call. Let me know how it goes. Love, you. Love you too. As Elijah ended the call, his email pinged with a new message. It was from the Chicago hotel where his mother was staying, confirming that Dr. Wilson had checked in safely and had been upgraded to a suite, courtesy of the hotel manager who, coincidentally, was married to a Golden Sky pilot. The airline world was smaller than most people realized. Word traveled fast. By tomorrow, everyone at Golden Sky would know that their CEO's mother had been disrespected by one of their own flight attendants. The story would spread, perspectives would form, sides would be taken. Elijah knew he needed to get ahead of the narrative. This wasn't just a personal matter. It was a defining moment for the culture he was trying to build at Golden Sky Airways. He picked up his phone one more time and dialed his mother's number. It rang twice before she answered. Hello, sweetheart, she said, sounding tired but warm as always. Mom, he said, the word carrying a world of concern. We need to talk about what happened today. The aftermath unfolded like ripples in a pond, spreading outward from that single moment on the jetway. Diane Mercer sat stiffly in the hard plastic chair outside the Human Resources office, her uniform perfectly pressed despite having been up since 4 a.m. She'd been removed from yesterday's flight to Chicago and ordered to report to headquarters first thing this morning. In 15 years with Golden Sky Airways, she'd never been called in like this. Her stomach churned with a mix of indignation and creeping dread. The whispers had started almost immediately after she'd been escorted off the plane. A coworker had texted her last night. Do you know who that woman was? Diane hadn't responded. What difference did it make who the passenger was? Rules were rules, and Diane prided herself on enforcing them fairly. At least, that's what she told herself as she sat waiting, her hands folded tightly in her lap. The lane. Door opened, and Lisa Chen, the chief people officer, appeared. Ms. Mercer, please come in. Diane stood, smoothing her skirt. Am I meeting with you, Ms. Chen? No. Mr. Wilson would like to speak with you personally. This way, please. Diane felt her chest tighten. The CEO himself. This was worse than she'd imagined. She followed Lisa through a maze of hallways to the executive floor, trying to maintain her composure. They stopped at a corner office with a nameplate reading, Elijah Wilson, Chief Executive Officer. Lisa knocked once and opened the door. Ms. Mercer is here, Elijah. Thank you, Lisa. Please come in, Ms. Mercer. Diane stepped into the spacious office, immediately struck by how young the CEO looked. She'd seen him in company videos and at the annual meeting, but in person, his youth was even more apparent. He couldn't be much older than 35, with dark skin, close-cropped hair, and eyes that seemed to see right through her. Please have a seat, he said, gesturing to a chair in front of his desk. Diane sat down, back straight, chin up. Whatever happened, she would maintain her dignity. Do you know why you're here, Ms. Mercer? Elijah asked, his voice calm and measured. I assume it's about the incident on Flight 372 yesterday, she replied. That's correct. Before we discuss what happened, I'd like you to watch something. Elijah turned his laptop around to face her. On the screen was security footage from the jetway. Diane watched herself interacting with Dr. Wilson, saw herself examining the boarding pass with exaggerated care, saw the moment when the paper tore in her hands. From this angle, with no audio, her actions looked deliberate, calculated. When the video ended, Elijah closed the laptop. What do you see in that footage, Ms. Mercer? Diane swallowed hard. I see a misunderstanding about a boarding pass. A misunderstanding, Elijah repeated. Is that what you call questioning a passenger's valid first-class ticket? Suggesting she was in the wrong place? Damaging her boarding pass? And creating a scene that delayed boarding for everyone? Sir, I was simply following protocol. When something seems out of the ordinary, what exactly seemed out of the ordinary about Dr. Wilson? Elijah interrupted, his voice still level but with an edge now. Diane hesitated. Nothing specific. It was just a feeling that something wasn't right. A feeling, Elijah said. Ms. Mercer, let me tell you about Dr. Maya Wilson. She's a neurosurgeon who has saved countless lives over her 30-year career. She flies first class at least twice a month to speak at medical conferences around the world. She's a platinum member of our frequent flyer program. He paused. And she happens to be my mother. The color drained from Diane's face. Your mother? I had no idea, Mr. Wilson, if I'd known. That's precisely the problem, Elijah cut in. You shouldn't need to know who someone is to treat them with basic respect and dignity. My mother shouldn't have to be the CEO's mother to have her ticket honored without question. Diane looked down at her hands. I understand, sir, and I apologize. It was never my intention to disrespect anyone. Intentions and impact are two different things, Ms. Mercer. The impact of your actions was harmful, regardless of your intentions. Elijah leaned forward. Tell me honestly, if Dr. Wilson had been a white man in a business suit, would you have questioned his first-class ticket? The question hung in the air between them. Diane wanted to say yes, that she would have treated anyone the same way, but the truth pressed uncomfortably against her chest. She thought back to the countless first-class passengers she'd greeted over the years. Had she ever scrutinized a white businessman's ticket the way she had Dr. Wilson's? Had she ever suggested a white woman might be in the wrong section? I don't know. She finally answered, her voice barely above a whisper. Elijah nodded, as if her honesty, however reluctant, was a start. That's something for you to reflect on. Now, you should know that I have grounds to terminate your employment. Immediately. Diane's head snapped up. Please, Mr. Wilson, this job is all I have. I've been with Golden Sky for 15 years. I'm aware of your service record, Elijah said, which is why I haven't made a final decision yet. My mother and I spoke at length last night, and she had some thoughts on how to handle this situation. Your mother? Diane asked, confused. Yes. Contrary to what you might expect, she doesn't want you fired. Diane blinked in surprise. She doesn't? No. She believes that firing you would solve nothing. It would make Golden Sky feel better about taking action, but it wouldn't address the deeper issues at play. Elijah stood and walked to the window. Dr. Wilson has spent her entire career facing these small indignities, being questioned about her credentials, being mistaken for the janitorial staff in the hospital where she's chief of neurosurgery, being asked to move from first class on airlines, not just ours. He turned back to face Diane. She's tired, Ms. Mercer. Tired of being the one who always has to be calm, who always has to be the bigger person, who always has to educate others about their biases. And yet that's exactly what she's offering to do here. Not for your sake, but for the sake of every passenger who might encounter similar treatment in the future. Diane felt a wave of shame wash over her. What does that mean exactly? It means you have a choice, Elijah said. Option 1, you resign today, effective immediately, with 2 months severance pay. Option 2, you remain on administrative leave for 30 days, during which time you'll participate in an intensive diversity and inclusion training program that we're developing. After that, if you choose to return, you'll be reassigned to help implement these new training protocols across the company. You want me to help with training? Diane asked, bewildered. Who better to speak to the reality of unconscious bias than someone who has had to confront their own? Elijah replied. But let me be clear. This isn't a punishment disguised as an opportunity. This is a genuine chance to be part of meaningful change at Golden Sky. The choice is yours. Diane sat in stunned silence. She'd come here expecting to be fired, possibly even publicly humiliated. Instead, she was being offered a path forward, a chance to learn and grow from her mistake. It was more than she deserved, and she knew it. I would like to take option 2, she said quietly, and I would like to apologize to Dr. Wilson personally, if she's willing to speak with me. Elijah nodded. She'll be back in Atlanta next week. I'll arrange a meeting if she's comfortable with that. He sat back down at his desk. Lisa will give you the details of your leave and the training program. You're dismissed for now, Ms. Mercer. As Diane left the office, she felt lighter somehow, as if a burden she hadn't known she was carrying had been partially lifted. There was still shame, still embarrassment, but also a strange sense of possibility. Lisa was waiting outside. Let's go to my office to discuss next steps, she said, her tone professional but not unkind. As they walked, Diane asked, Have you ever been through this kind of training yourself? Lisa gave her a small smile. Everyone at Golden Sky will be going through some version of it, even me, even Elijah. That's the point. This isn't about singling you out. It's about changing the culture of the entire airline. Meanwhile, across town, Dr. Maya Wilson was preparing for her keynote address at the medical conference. Her hotel suite was spacious and elegant, with a view of Chicago's magnificent skyline. On the desk lay her presentation materials, meticulously organized as always. Her phone rang, Elijah calling for their daily check-in. Good morning, son, she answered warmly. Morning, Mom. How are you feeling about the big speech today? Ready, as I'll ever be, Maya replied. But I suspect you're not calling about my presentation. Did you meet with her? Just finished, Elijah confirmed. She took option 2. Wants to apologize to you in person when you're back. Maya sighed softly. Good, that's good. I wasn't sure she would. It was the right call, Mom. Not every CEO would have listened to you about this. Not every CEO has had my experiences, Maya pointed out, or my perspective. There was a pause on the line. I've been thinking about something you said last night, Elijah said, about how exhausting it is to always be the one teaching others. It is exhausting, Maya confirmed, but sometimes necessary. I'm sorry you've had to carry that burden. Don't be sorry, be better, Maya said, echoing the phrase she'd often told him growing up. And help others be better too. That's what you're doing now. I've asked Lisa to expand the training program company-wide. Every employee, from baggage handlers to pilots, will go through it. It won't solve everything overnight, but it's a start. A start is all we can ask for, Maya agreed. Now, I should finish preparing for my speech. I'll call you afterward. Knock 'em dead, Mom. Love you. Love you too, son. As Maya ended the call, her thoughts drifted to the incident on the plane. Throughout her career, she'd faced countless microaggressions, small indignities that added up over time. Each one had chipped away at her, requiring extra energy to process, to remain professional, to not let it affect her work. But this time felt different. This time there would be real consequences, real change. Not because she was special or had connections, but because her son understood the importance of addressing the systemic issues at play. A knock at the door interrupted her thoughts. It was a hotel staff member with a large bouquet of flowers. Delivery. For Dr. Wilson, the young woman said cheerfully. Maya accepted the arrangement with a smile. The card read, "Wishing you success today. Your voice matters. With admiration, the staff of Golden Sky Airways." She placed the flowers on the coffee table, touched by the gesture. Word traveled fast in the airline industry. By now, many of the Golden Sky employees likely knew what had happened. This bouquet suggested that at least some of them stood with her. Her phone buzzed with a text from another speaker at the conference. "Heard about what happened on your flight. Unacceptable. Let me know if there's anything I can do." Maya texted back a simple thank you and set her phone aside. She didn't want to dwell on the incident any longer. She had a presentation to give, lives to potentially impact with her research. But as she gathered her materials, she couldn't help but feel a sense of cautious hope. Change was hard. Slow work. It didn't happen overnight, and it certainly didn't happen with a single incident or a single training program. But it had to start somewhere. Maybe, just maybe, what happened on that jetway would be the catalyst for something meaningful at Golden Sky Airways. And if it helped even one other person avoid the experience she'd had, then perhaps it was worth it. Maya picked up her presentation notes and headed for the door. She had work to do, just as Elijah did. Different work, but aligned in purpose, making the world a little better, a little more just, a little more humane. One flight, one surgery, one conversation at a time. 1 week later, Dr. Maya Wilson sat in a small conference room at Golden Sky Airways headquarters, sipping herbal tea from a ceramic mug. The room was deliberately neutral. No executive trappings, no intimidating boardroom table, just comfortable chairs arranged in a small circle. It had been Maya's suggestion, a setting that might put everyone at ease for what would inevitably be a difficult conversation. The door opened and Elijah entered. "She's here, Mom. Are you sure you want to do this alone? I can stay if you'd like." Maya shook her head. "This needs to be between us. No titles, no power dynamics beyond the ones that already exist. Just two women talking honestly." Elijah nodded, though concern lingered in his eyes. "I'll be in my office if you need anything." After he left, Maya took another sip of tea, centering herself. As a surgeon, she'd learned to separate emotion from action when necessary, to maintain steady hands even when her heart raced. That skill would serve her well today. The door opened again, and Diane Mercer entered hesitantly. She looked different from the confident flight attendant who had torn Maya's boarding pass a week ago. Her shoulders were slightly hunched, her face drawn with tension. "Dr. Wilson," she said, her voice carefully controlled, "thank you for agreeing to meet with me." "Please sit down." Maya gestured to the chair across from her. "Would you like some tea?" "No, thank you." Diane sat, her posture rigid. She placed her hands on her lap, then moved them to the arms of the chair, then back to her lap as if unsure what to do with them. "You seem nervous," Maya observed. Diane let out a short, humorless laugh. "Wouldn't you be? I treated the CEO's mother terribly, and now I'm sitting across from her, hoping I still have a career by the end of this conversation." "I'm not here as the CEO's mother," Maya said. "I'm here as the woman whose boarding pass you tore, the one whose right to be in first class you questioned repeatedly. Let's keep the focus there." Diane nodded, swallowing visibly. "You're right. I've been preparing what to say to you all week, and now I can't seem to find the words." "Why don't you start with what you've been thinking about since our encounter?" Maya suggested. What's been going through your mind? Diane took a deep breath. Honestly, at first, I was angry. I felt ambushed, like I was being punished for doing my job. I've questioned passengers before when something seemed off about their tickets. No one's ever called me to headquarters over it. What seemed off about my ticket? Maya asked, her voice neutral. Nothing specific about the ticket itself, Diane admitted. It was, She trailed off. It was me, Maya completed the thought. A black woman in her 50s, dressed professionally but not flashy, traveling alone in first class. Diane's eyes dropped to her hands. Yes, she whispered. But I didn't think of it that way, not consciously. That's how unconscious bias works, Maya said. It operates below the surface, influencing our actions in ways we don't recognize until someone points it out. If we're lucky enough to have someone willing to do that. The training program I've been in this week, it's been eye-opening, Diane said. We did this exercise where we had to write down our first impressions of different passengers based just on photos. When we analyzed our responses afterward, she shook her head. I saw patterns I never noticed before. Recognizing those patterns is the first step, Maya acknowledged. But what happens next is what really matters. I want to apologize, Diane said, finally meeting Maya's gaze. Not because you're Mr. Wilson's mother, but because what I did was wrong. I made assumptions about you based on how you look, and I treated you disrespectfully because of those assumptions. I'm truly sorry. Maya studied the woman across from her. The apology seemed genuine, but apologies were easy. Actions were what counted. I appreciate that, Maya said. But I want you to understand something. That incident on the plane? It wasn't an isolated event for me. It was one in a lifetime of similar encounters. Being questioned, being doubted, having to prove I belong in spaces where others are simply assumed to belong. Diane nodded slowly. One of our trainers mentioned that concept. The cumulative impact of microaggression, she called it. Yes, each individual incident might seem small to the person causing it. Just a question, just a look, just a comment. But for the person experiencing it day after day, year after year, it becomes exhausting. Soul-depleting. I never thought of it that way, Diane admitted. Most people don't, Maya said. That's part of the problem. But now you have an opportunity to think differently, to act differently. Mr. Wilson mentioned that you didn't want me fired, Diane said hesitantly. May I ask why? Maya set her tea down. Firing you would be easy. Golden Sky could issue a statement about zero tolerance for discrimination. Everyone would applaud the swift action, and nothing would actually change. The next Diane Mercer would come along and do the same thing to the next Maya Wilson. So instead you want me to help change the system, Diane concluded. Exactly. You've been with Golden Sky for 15 years. You know the culture, the unwritten rules, the way things really work. And now you've had this awakening about your own biases. That makes you uniquely positioned to help create meaningful change. Diane looked thoughtful. I've been thinking about that a lot this week, about how I could use my experience to help others avoid making the same mistakes. It's not what I expected to be doing with my career at this point. Life rarely gives us what we expect, Maya said with a small smile. Sometimes it gives us what we need instead. Can I ask you something personal, Dr. Wilson? You can ask. I might not answer. How do you do it? How do you stay so composed? If someone had treated me the way I treated you, I don't think I could have remained so calm. Maya was silent for a moment, considering. When I was in medical school, I was often the only black woman in the room. Early on, I learned that any show of emotion would be used against me. If I got angry, I was aggressive. If I got upset, I was too emotional. So I developed a shell, a professional persona that could weather these storms without cracking. That sounds exhausting, Diane said softly. It is. And it's unfair that I had to develop that skill while others could simply be themselves. But it's also served me well in the operating room, where staying calm under pressure is essential. Maya leaned forward slightly. But here's what I want you to understand, Diane. The fact that I remained composed doesn't mean what happened. didn't hurt. It did. It always does. Diane's eyes glistened with unexpected tears. "I'm so sorry," she repeated, the words carrying more weight this time. "I believe you," Maya said. "Now what are you going to do with that sorrow? How will you transform it into action?" Before Diane could answer, there was a knock at the door. Lisa Chen poked her head in. "I'm sorry to interrupt, but Elijah asked me to check if everything is okay. You've been in here for nearly an hour." "We're fine, Lisa," Maya assured her. "Just having a good conversation. We'll be done soon." After Lisa left, Diane said, "I've been thinking about what Mr. Wilson proposed, about me helping with the new training program. At first, I thought it was some kind of punishment, making me stand up in front of my colleagues as an example of what not to do, but now I'm seeing it differently." "How so?" Maya asked. "It's actually a privilege, a chance to use my mistake to help others learn, to turn something negative into something positive." Diane straightened her shoulders. "I want to do it, not just because it saves my job, but because it's the right thing to do." Maya nodded approvingly. "That's a good start, but I want to be clear about something. This won't be easy. You'll face resistance from colleagues who don't understand why these changes are necessary. You'll have to confront your own biases again and again. There will be days when you wonder if it's worth it." "Is it?" Diane asked. "Worth it, I mean." "That's for you to decide," Maya replied. "But I can tell you this. Creating a more just, more equitable world is always worth the effort, even when progress seems slow." Diane seemed to absorb this, her expression thoughtful. "Thank you for talking with me today, Dr. Wilson." "For what?" "It's worth. I'm grateful for this chance to learn and grow, even though I wish it hadn't come at your expense." "Make it count," Maya said simply. "That's all I ask." They stood, the conversation coming to its natural conclusion. As they walked to the door, Diane hesitated. "Will you be flying Golden Sky again?" Maya raised an eyebrow. "Is that your way of asking if I trust the airline to treat me better next time?" "I suppose it is. My son owns the company, Diane. Of course I'll fly Golden Sky again. The real question is whether other black women who don't have that connection will feel welcome on your planes. That's the measure of success for whatever changes you implement." Diane nodded, accepting the challenge in Maya's words. "I understand." They parted ways in the hallway, Diane heading toward the Human Resources Department where she would continue her training, Maya toward Elijah's office. As she walked, Maya reflected on the conversation. It had gone better than she'd expected. There had been real vulnerability there, real willingness to change. Elijah looked up from his desk when she entered his office. "How did it go?" "Surprisingly, well," Maya said, settling into a chair. "I think she gets it, or at least she's beginning to get it." "And you're okay? That couldn't have been easy." Maya smiled at her son's concern. "I'm fine, Elijah. This isn't my first rodeo, as your father would say." "That's what worries me," Elijah said, his expression serious. "That you've had to do this so many times before. True, but this time feels different. This time there's actual power behind the conversation. Real possibility for change." She gestured around the office. "You've built something important here, son. Now you have a chance to make it truly exceptional." "I've been thinking about that," Elijah said, pulling a folder from his desk drawer. "Lisa and I have been working on a comprehensive plan, not just training, but policy changes, accountability measures, structural adjustments. We're calling it the Golden Rule Initiative." "Clever," Maya commented, taking the folder. She scanned the contents, nodding approvingly at what she saw. "This is ambitious." "It needs to be," Elijah said. "What happened to you was a symptom of deeper issues. Band-aid solutions won't cut it." "Have you considered the financial implications? This won't be cheap to implement." Elijah shrugged. "Some things are worth the investment. Besides, I believe it will pay off in the long run. Happier employees, better customer service, stronger reputation." "The board might not see it that way," Maya pointed out. She'd been in enough corporate settings to know how these things usually went. "The board will follow my lead on this," Elijah said with quiet confidence. "And if they don't, well," he smiled, "I can be pretty persuasive when I need to be." "Wonder where you got that from," Maya said with a small smile. "Certainly not from my surgeon mother who convinced a room full of skeptical medical professionals to adopt her revolutionary approach to pediatric neurosurgery," Elijah teased. Maya laughed, the sound warming the room. "Fair point. I have to finish. Some things here, but are we still on for dinner tonight? Dad's excited about trying that new Ethiopian place downtown." "Wouldn't miss it," Maya assured him. "I'll see you at 7. As she left the Golden Sky headquarters, Maya felt a sense of cautious optimism. The conversation with Diane had been a step in the right direction. Elijah's initiative showed real promise. It wasn't everything, and it wouldn't solve all problems overnight, but it was meaningful progress. In the car heading home, Maya's phone rang. It was her colleague from the hospital, Dr. Patricia Chen. "Maya, how are you? How was Chicago?" "The conference went well," Maya replied. "My presentation was received better than I expected. I heard about what happened on your flight there," Patricia said. "Word travels fast in our circles. Are you okay?" "I'm fine," Maya assured her. "Actually, something interesting came out of it. Elijah is implementing some major changes at Golden Sky as a result." "Good for him," Patricia said approvingly. "And how was your meeting with the flight attendant today? That couldn't have been easy." Maya sighed. "News really does travel fast, doesn't it?" "It was surprisingly productive. I think she's genuinely trying to understand her actions and make amends." "That's rare," Patricia commented. "Most people get defensive when confronted with their biases." She did initially, but sometimes people can surprise you. "Speaking of surprises," Patricia said, her tone lightening, "the board approved your proposal for the new pediatric neurosurgery wing. Unanimously." Maya felt a surge of joy. She'd been working on that proposal for over a year, fighting for resources in a healthcare system that often prioritized more profitable specialties over pediatrics. "That's wonderful news, Patricia. Thank you for letting me know." "Don't thank me. It was your brilliant proposal that convinced them. This is going to change so many children's lives, Maya." After ending the call, Maya sat in silence for a moment, absorbing the news. The new wing would mean more children could receive the care they needed. More families could find hope in what often seemed like hopeless situations. It struck her then, the parallel between her work at the hospital and what was happening at Golden Sky. Both were about creating systemic change, about building structures that would outlast any individual effort. Both required patience, persistence, and a willingness to face resistance, and both mattered deeply. Maya smiled to herself as the car continued toward home. Today had been a good day, a day of meaningful conversations and real progress. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new obstacles to overcome. But for now, she would savor this moment of hope, this glimpse of what was possible when people were willing to learn, to grow, to change. It wasn't everything, but it was something. And sometimes something was enough to start with. 6 months passed like the changing of seasons, gradually, then all at once. The morning sun streamed through the windows of Golden Sky Airways' largest training facility as employees filed in, coffee cups in hand, voices mingling in the air. The room buzzed with anticipation. Today marked the official launch of the Airline's Golden Rule initiative, a comprehensive program that had been months in the making. At the back of the room, Diane Mercer smoothed her blazer nervously. She no longer wore the Golden Sky flight attendant uniform. Instead, she was dressed in business casual attire, a badge identifying her as part of the airline's newly formed People Experience team. The past 6 months had transformed her in ways she couldn't have imagined that day in the jetway. "Nervous?" Lisa Chen asked, appearing beside her with a clipboard. "Terrified," Diane admitted. "What if they resent me? What if they see this whole program as just a punishment for my mistake?" Lisa's expression softened. "This isn't about your mistake anymore, Diane. It's about making Golden Sky better for everyone, passengers and employees alike." "They see Des, you've put in the work. You've earned the right to stand up there today. Diane nodded, trying to believe it. The last 6 months had been the most challenging of her career. After her conversation with Dr. Wilson, she'd committed fully to the training program, facing her biases head-on, even when it was uncomfortable. Especially when it was uncomfortable. She'd spent countless hours helping Lisa develop today's presentation, drawing from her own experiences and newfound understanding. The room quieted as Elijah Wilson stepped to the podium. At 35, the CEO radiated a calm confidence that immediately commanded attention. "Good morning, everyone," he began. "Thank you for being here. Today marks an important milestone for Golden Sky Airways. We're not just launching a training program. We're committing to a fundamental shift in how we operate as a company." He paused, his gaze sweeping the room. 6 months ago, an incident occurred that many of you have heard about. A valued customer was treated disrespectfully while boarding one of our flights. What made this incident unique wasn't that it happened. Unfortunately, such occurrences are all too common in our industry and others. What made it unique was that it sparked a meaningful conversation about who we are as a company and who we want to be. Elijah continued. The Golden Rule Initiative isn't just about diversity training or customer service protocols. It's about creating a culture where everyone, every passenger, every employee feels valued, respected, and welcome. It's about recognizing that our unconscious biases can lead us to treat people differently based on how they look, and committing to do better. The room was silent, all eyes on their CEO as he spoke with genuine passion. This initiative represents a significant investment, not just in terms of money, but in terms of time, energy, and emotional labor. It will challenge us. It will make us uncomfortable at times, but I believe it will also make us better both as individuals and as an organization. He gestured toward the side of the stage. To kick off today's session, I'd like to introduce someone who has been instrumental in helping us develop this program. Many of you know her as one of the most respected neurosurgeons in the country. I know her as Mom. Please welcome Dr. Maya Wilson. A wave of murmurs swept through the crowd as Maya walked onto the stage. She wore a simple navy pantsuit, her silver-streaked hair framing her face. She smiled warmly as she took the podium. "Thank you, Elijah," she said, "and thank you all for being here today. I want to start by acknowledging something important. I'm not here as an expert on diversity and inclusion. I'm here as someone who has lived experience with the issues we're discussing." Maya's voice was clear and steady as she continued. 6 months ago, I was a passenger on one of your flights. Like many passengers, I had a destination to reach, a purpose for my journey. Unlike many passengers, I was questioned about my right to be in first class, despite having a valid ticket. My boarding pass was torn and I was asked to return to the gate for a new one, causing delay and embarrassment. She paused, letting the words sink in. I could have simply accepted this as yet another indignity in a lifetime of similar experiences. I could have flown to my destination, completed my business, and never flown Golden Sky again. Many people in my position would have done exactly that, and Golden Sky would have lost a customer without ever knowing why. Maya looked around the room, making eye contact with various employees. Instead, something different happened. Because of my connection to Elijah, this incident didn't just disappear into the ether of everyday microaggressions. It became a catalyst for change. But here's what I want you to understand. What happened to me happens to people without powerful connections every day. On airlines and in hotels, in stores and in office buildings, in hospitals and in schools. She leaned slightly forward. The question isn't whether these incidents happen. They do with depressing regularity. The question is how we respond when they do. Do we dismiss them as misunderstandings? Do we get defensive? Or do we listen, learn, and commit to doing better? In the back of the room, Diane felt a lump forming in her throat. 6 months ago, she would have been among those getting defensive, insisting she was just doing her job. The journey to this moment had been humbling and often painful. Maya continued, "The Golden Rule Initiative isn't about making anyone feel guilty or ashamed. It's about recognizing that we all have biases, conscious and unconscious, that influence how we interact with others. It's about creating systems that help us overcome those biases, rather than reinforce them. She smiled slightly. In medicine, we have a saying, first, do no harm. It's the foundation of ethical practice. I believe a similar principle applies here. We may not always get everything right, but we can commit to minimizing harm, to treating each person with dignity and respect, to recognizing the humanity in everyone we encounter. Maya gestured toward the back of the room. I'd like to invite someone else to join me on stage now. Someone whose courage and willingness to grow have been instrumental in bringing us to this moment. Diane Mercer, would you please come up? Hush fell over the room as all heads turned toward Diane. Her legs felt like lead as she made her way to the stage, conscious of the whispers following her. Everyone knew who she was, what she had done. But as she climbed the steps to join Maya, she reminded herself that this wasn't about her comfort. It was about something much bigger. Maya greeted her with a warm handshake. Thank you for being here, Diane. Diane nodded, unable to speak past the tightness in her throat. Maya turned back to the audience. 6 months ago, Diane and I had a difficult conversation. It would have been easier for both of us to avoid that conversation. It would have been easier for Diane to resign and for Golden Sky to hire someone new. It would have been easier for me to accept the company's apology and move on. But the easier path isn't always the right one. She looked at Diane with genuine respect. What Diane has done over these past months took real courage. She's confronted her own biases, she's listened and learned, and now she's standing here, ready to help others do the same. That kind of transformation is rare and valuable. Diane stepped to the microphone, her hands trembling slightly. Thank you, Dr. Wilson, she said, her voice steadier than she expected. 6 months ago, I made a mistake that hurt someone deeply. At the time, I didn't fully understand what I had done or why I had done it. I just knew I was in trouble. She took a deep breath. The easy thing would have been to blame the system, to say I was just following protocol, to make excuses. Instead, thanks to Dr. Wilson's grace and Elijah's vision, I was given an opportunity to look inward, to examine my own thought processes and behaviors. Diane looked out at her colleagues, many of whom she'd worked with for years. What I discovered wasn't comfortable. I had to face the fact that I didn't treat all passengers the same way. I had to acknowledge that my perceptions were shaped by biases I wasn't even aware of, and I had to decide whether I was willing to change. She glanced at Maya, drawing strength from the older woman's encouraging nod. The training program we're launching today isn't theoretical for me. I've lived it for the past 6 months. It's challenging, it's uncomfortable at times, but it's also incredibly freeing to recognize these patterns and learn how to break them. Diane gestured to the materials laid out on each table. Today, we'll be introducing tools and techniques that can help all of us become more aware of our biases and more intentional in our interactions. We'll practice scenarios drawn from real experiences, including my own. We'll talk honestly about the challenges we face and how we can support each other in this journey. She paused, gathering her thoughts. I want to be clear about something. This isn't about politics or political correctness. It's about treating each person as an individual worthy of respect. It's about creating an environment where everyone feels welcome. And yes, it's about building a better business, because passengers who feel respected are passengers who return. The room was silent, all eyes on Diane as she spoke with unexpected eloquence. I never imagined I would be standing here today. 6 months ago, I thought my career was over. Instead, I found a new purpose, a new path forward, and I'm grateful for that opportunity. Even though I wish it had come about differently, Diane turned to Maya. Dr. Wilson, I want to thank you publicly for your generosity of spirit. You had every right to demand my termination. Instead, you saw potential for growth, not just for me, but for Golden Sky as a whole. I promise you that your faith will not be misplaced. Maya smiled warmly. I believe you, Diane. As the formal presentation began, led by Lisa Chen and her team, Maya slipped quietly to the back of the room where Elijah was watching. That went well, she murmured, taking the seat beside him. Better than I expected, Elijah admitted. Diane has really risen to the occasion. People often do when given the chance, Maya replied. How's the board responding to all this? They were skeptical at first, Elijah said. But the quarterly numbers helped convince them. Turns out treating people with respect is good for business. Employee retention is up, customer complaints are down, and our social media sentiment has improved significantly. And the costs? Substantial but manageable. We've actually seen some unexpected savings from reduced turnover and fewer customer service escalations. It's not just paying for itself, it's creating value. Maya squeezed her son's hand. I'm proud of you, Elijah. What you're building here matters. I learned from the best, he replied with a smile. The training session continued throughout the morning, with employees breaking into small groups for discussions and exercises. Maya observed quietly, impressed by the thoughtfulness of the program and the genuine engagement of most participants. There were a few skeptics, of course, there always would be, but overall, the atmosphere was one of openness and willingness to learn. During the lunch break, Maya checked her phone and found a text from her husband. How's it going? Knock 'em dead, doctor. She smiled and typed a quick reply. Going well. Tell you all about it tonight. As she slipped her phone back into her pocket, a young flight attendant approached hesitantly. Dr. Wilson? I just wanted to say thank you. I've been with Golden Sky for 3 years and... She paused, seeming to gather courage. I'm often the only black woman on my flight crews. These past 6 months, since the changes started rolling out, have been different. Better. I feel seen in a way I didn't before. Maya was touched by the young woman's words. What's your name? Zoe Taylor, she replied. Well, Zoe Taylor, thank you for telling me that. It means a lot to know this is making a real difference for people. Zoe nodded. It is. And having you here today, seeing you and Diane together on that stage, it gives me hope that things can actually change. After Zoe left, Maya found herself reflecting on the young woman's words. Hope. Such a small word for such a powerful concept. In her decades of navigating predominantly white spaces, hope had often seemed in short supply. The weight of constantly proving herself, of being the first or the only, had sometimes felt crushing, but here in this room something different was happening. Not a perfect solution, there was no such thing, but a genuine effort to create change. And maybe that was enough for now. Enough to kindle hope. The afternoon session focused on practical applications, how to recognize potentially biased thoughts, how to interrupt problematic patterns, how to create systems that promoted equity rather than hindered it. Maya was particularly impressed by a section led by Diane on handling difficult customer service situations with empathy and respect. The key is to listen first, Diane explained to the group, not just to what the person is saying, but to what they might not be saying. What are they really asking for? What do they really need? Often it's simply to be seen and respected as an individual. As the session wrapped up, Elijah returned to the podium for closing remarks. Thank you all for your participation today, he said. This is just the beginning of our journey. The real work happens when you leave this room and return to your regular duties. It happens in those small moments of decision, how you greet a passenger, how you respond to a colleague, how you handle a difficult situation. He looked around the room, making eye contact with various employees. I want to be clear about our expectations going forward. The Golden Rule Initiative isn't optional. It's core to who we are becoming as a company. We will provide support, resources, and ongoing training. We will create systems that make doing the right thing easier, but ultimately this comes down to individual choices made moment by moment. Elijah's voice grew more passionate. I believe in this company. I believe in each of you. And I believe we can build something truly special here. An airline that not only transports people from place to place, but does so with genuine care and respect for every individual. That's the Golden Sky I want to be part of. I hope you do too. The room erupted in applause. As people began to gather their things and file out, Maya made her way to where Diane stood chatting with a group of flight attendants. You did well. Today, Maya said when the others had moved on. Thank you, Diane replied. That means a lot coming from you. You've come a long way in 6 months. Diane nodded thoughtfully. I have. But I know I still have further to go. This is a lifelong journey, isn't it? It is, Maya confirmed, for all of us. They stood in comfortable silence for a moment. Two women from different worlds who had found unexpected common ground. I'm flying to Boston next week, Maya said finally. Golden Sky, of course. First class? Diane asked with a small smile. Naturally. You'll be in good hands, Diane assured her. Many of our flight crews have already gone through this training. More are scheduled in the coming weeks. I know, Maya said. Elijah keeps me updated. She paused. But it's not just about me having a good experience, Diane. It's about everyone having a good experience, regardless of who they are or what they look like. I understand that now, Diane said quietly. I really do. As they parted ways, Maya felt a sense of completion, not an ending. The work would continue long after she left this building, but a milestone nonetheless. What had begun as an unpleasant incident on a jetway had blossomed into something meaningful, something with the potential to create lasting change. Outside, the afternoon sun bathed the Golden Sky headquarters in warm light. Maya took a moment to appreciate the view before heading to her car. Her phone buzzed with a text from Elijah. Dinner tonight to celebrate? Dad's already said yes. Maya smiled and typed her reply. Wouldn't miss it. So proud of you, son. As she drove away, she thought about the young flight attendant Zoe and her words about hope. In a world that often seemed determined to divide and diminish, today had been a reminder that change was possible. Not easy, not guaranteed, but possible. And sometimes that possibility was enough to keep going, to keep pushing, to keep believing in a better future. One flight, one conversation, one moment of recognition at a time.